Imagine a shopkeeper at the end of a long day. He locks the door, turns off the lights, and slaps a printed sign in his front window. It reads, "Workers of the world, unite." He doesn't actually care about the workers of the world. He isn't making a political statement. He's putting the sign up so the authorities leave him alone. He is performing a ritual to signal his compliance and keep his shop open. The dissident writer Vaclav Havel created this analogy in his 1978 essay on totalitarianism. He wanted to understand how deeply oppressive structures maintain their grip on society. The answer, he found, was chilling. The system doesn't survive because the secret police are everywhere, or because the citizens genuinely believe the ideology. It survives because everyone on the street mutually agrees to play along. When thousands of people across a society perform these rituals, a system appears immovable. But that power relies on the participation of the subordinates, which means a single act of public defiance can expose the hollowness beneath the surface. Now, fast forward to January 2026, right in the middle of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Prime Minister Mark Carney used his special address to denounce what he called a rules-based illusion. He argued that the institutional framework built after the Second World War has suffered a fatal rupture rather than a mere transition. Carney points directly at the Greengrocer Analogy. For decades, middle-tier countries have enjoyed the predictability of global laws. Now they watch great powers openly violate those exact rules, yet they keep putting the sign in the window. They keep negotiating and pretending the system still works out of pure habit and fear. This suggests that the post-war bargain, peace through prosperity, no longer exists. Relying on the old institutions to manage conflict has become a significant strategic risk. Superpowers realize the old rules are gone, and they are actively exploiting the resulting chaos. They use massive global supply chains and economic integration as weapons to extort smaller nations. The United States serves as the prime example. Under President Donald Trump, the U.S. administration aggressively deploys massive punitive tariffs and floats actual territorial threats, like acquiring Greenland, to force its allies into total compliance. This map illustrates that weaponization. In April 2026, the U.S. and Israeli campaign, Operation Epic Fury, blockaded the Strait of Hormuz. This chokepoint controls 30% of global ammonia and half of urea exports, threatening the entire global food supply. When superpowers unilaterally choke off the world's food and fuel, intermediate states are left entirely exposed. If they try to negotiate one-on-one with a hostile hegemon, they aren't exercising actual sovereignty. They are just performing it while quietly accepting their own subjugation. To survive this era, Carney proposes a third path, a doctrine formally called value-based realism. The first directive is simple: take the sign out of the window. Stop pretending the old institutions can protect you. But philosophical defiance requires hard material backing. A nation cannot stand up to international bullies if it is vulnerable to supply shocks at home. You have to build extreme domestic strength first. This requires massive capital investment. Canada's response was the rollout of the $51 billion Build Communities Strong Fund, pouring public and private money directly into hospitals, housing, and water treatment to physically insulate the economy from external coercion. Then comes the hard power. The state is doubling its defense spending to militarize and secure its northern and Arctic regions against aggressive territorial incursions. Finally, the government is treating ecology as a hard security asset. By introducing natural capital accounting, they are integrating the protection of fresh water, critical minerals, and vast marine territories directly into macroeconomic planning. You have to earn the right to take a principled stand on the global stage, and you earn that right strictly through your physical ability to feed, fuel, and defend your own citizens without asking a superpower for permission. Once the domestic shield is in place, the doctrine calls for an aggressive offensive maneuver, rapid geo-economic diversification. You buy insurance by forming flexible, issue-based coalitions around the globe. Canada executed this by making a highly calculated pivot toward Beijing. The government slashed tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles from over 60% down to just 6%, deliberately breaking its absolute monopolistic dependence on the U.S. market. Entrenched powers do not surrender their leverage quietly. In immediate retaliation, Washington threatened an apocalyptic 100% tariff on all Canadian goods, trying to force them back into line. This chart shows exactly why building a unified middle-power coalition is incredibly difficult. The United States still controls over 30% of foreign direct investment in ASEAN nations. When a developing country relies heavily on American capital, they prioritize economic pragmatism. They won't risk U.S. ties just to join a global centrist bloc. The Davos crowd envisioned a future where artificial intelligence would mediate planetary crises and help build a shared peace. But the reality is far more severe. Frontier AI models running wargame simulations like Project Con are currently choosing to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in 95% of crisis scenarios, actively accelerating the speed of warfare. Choosing a path of strategic autonomy triggers a volatile era of retaliation. Survival in this fractured landscape requires the courage to stop performative compliance and begin the difficult work of living in truth.